So one of the things that's really interesting when you read the Greco-Roman Times is that household code was very solid in place in the Greco-Roman culture.
Mm-hmm.
However, when Paul came, he saw something different.
Mm-hmm.
Paul looked and said, this is not the way it ought to be. We are all created equal. The word kephale, when it says the man is the head of the house. Now, a lot of legalistic Christians have taken that to mean, oh, the man's in charge, just like the Greco-Roman times. But Paul was saying something different. The word for head there isn't the word like this is the head and this is the body.
Yeah.
It's not an equality issue. It's not a who's in charge and who has authority issue. It's more of him just referring to the Old Testament saying, man's the source of woman, and it's not because he's better or more than, they're equal. Many of these were women. He felt like women should lead in the church and that women had a place of leadership and that they were equal with man. He says, now that Christ has come, there's no longer slave or free, there's no longer male or female, we're all one. So Paul was actually one who tried to liberate women. Unfortunately, for many years, people took some of his words out of context and used it to push women down. When someone is looking at
Mm-hmm.
the Bible is written for very specific purposes, but it also sheds light on certain cultural things that were taking place.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, if we understand what Paul was saying then and there to those people, then we understand how liberating and freeing it was, and we can declare that same freedom now.
Okay.
The problem is, we've all been quoted out of context. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
took one sentence or one phrase you said and said, oh, you said blah, blah, blah. Well,
Yeah.
if you understand it in context, you know the truth. Sometimes people have taken some of Paul's words out of context and made the case for separation and hierarchy, when in reality, he was doing the opposite. He was fighting against that. And so we've got to know how to handle um, ancient literary text, which is
Mm-hmm.
what these are. These are texts that are
Yes.
2,000 years old. There are a lot of differences between us and them. There's a
Mm-hmm.
difference in time. That was 2,000 years ago. Things have changed just in our lifetime, let
Mm-hmm.
alone in 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different cultural understanding. That's an Eastern culture or a Western culture. There's a difference in just the way life functioned in those days. And the Greco-Roman culture is different than ours. So we have to make sure when we're looking at these passages, we interpret them in light of what they were intended when they were originally written, then take those principles and apply them today.
All right. Thank you so
Cool.
much,
For
Pastor
sure.
Wayne.